In Trackmania, world records aren't just about being fast on the track, they're about pushing limits. The 2024 summer campaign saw players conquer what was thought to be impossible and fight for every millisecond. They optimized tracks with incredible precision and jaw-dropping shortcuts. Most shortcuts are found within the first few days of the campaign, but track 7 of the summer campaign was different. The shortcut was done much later and might just be the most unique one ever pulled off in a campaign, because only one person was able to do it. The track is driven with a stadium car and is mostly made out of plastic. It features a unique section where you jump onto a nice platform, bonk the plastic wall and do a small ice slide to the next part of the track. On plastic, sharp turns will kill your speed, so smooth lines are crucial to go fast. There are many other tricks to shave off time, especially if you're going for the world record. But Solivagans understands all of these tricks on plastic and hunted the track to such perfection that it seemed unbeatable. He set his first record on the 6th of July. Over the next few days he kept improving on his own record, until Zodiac took it by 1,000th of a second. But Solivagans didn't let that stop him, so he took the record back 2 days later and improved it 2 more times after that. 17 days into the campaign, the track seemed so optimized that no one thought it could be beaten. It looked like the perfect run. But there is one player who doesn't stick to the rules of the track. He might actually be the master of shortcuts in Trackmania 2020, as he is often the first to find and set records with new shortcuts. He tried something that no one else thought would work. At the end of the track, there is a long halfpipe with a water pool next to it. If timed right, the car could bounce off the water and land back on the track. But there's a scenery block in the way. Getting under this block and then back on the track was deemed impossible, so nobody bothered with it. But Corny thought otherwise. Compared to Solivagans' run, Corny started slow. By the second to last checkpoint, he was 0.3 seconds behind, which is a big difference considering Solivagans beat his own record by just thousandths of a second each time. But then he did the impossible. With a perfectly executed jump, Corny angled his car off the track. He managed to squeeze the car under the scenery block, bounce out of the water and jump back on the track. On first sight, it might not look that hard, but let's take a closer look at the incredible precision this shortcut takes. First, Corny has to hit a perfect angle to clear the obstacle, as he needs a very precise line to get to the other side of the track. Then he also needs the right speed. As the car hit the water, the tail clipped this first bar, causing it to tilt upward. Then the nose of the car hit the second bar, forcing the car to dive deeper into the water. This part is key to the shortcut. If the car didn't dive deeper, it wouldn't bounce high enough to get back on the track. And this is why the speed of the car is so important. If Corny had approached the shortcut any faster, the car would dive completely past the first bar, meaning that the tail wouldn't clip it. That would prevent the upward tilt to hit the nose on the next bar, which is crucial for making the car dive deeper into the water. But if he was slower, the car would have hit the bar too early. That would have stopped it from tilting up, again preventing the car from diving deeper into the water. But the precision doesn't stop there. The exit of the shortcut is important as well, because it wouldn't be a world record if it was done any different. On the exit of this shortcut, Corny hit the front wheel on the border, tilting the car forward and to the side. It may look like a mistake, but it is the thing that sealed the record. The end of the track is made of penalty sand, which slows the car down. But because Corny's car is tilted, only one wheel touches the penalty sand for about half a second, minimizing the slowdown and giving him just a little extra speed. This detail secured the record, as Corny beat Solivagans' time by only 91 thousandths of a second. No one has been able to beat Corny's record, even though in theory it is possible, as he was 0.3 seconds behind before pulling off the shortcut. But no one managed to combine perfect lines and that shortcut in one flawless run. This track was not the only one with a shortcut, and usually they aren't as hard as this one, so combining them with perfect lines through the track is a viable option. And track 16 might just be the perfect track for that. On the first day of the campaign, Alansar started hunting it. Throughout the day he broke his own record 7 times. While 3TM and Turtle TM briefly claimed the record, Alansar managed to reclaim the lead by the end of the day with a 47.491. The following morning, 3TM took the record again. But all these records would soon be lost, as Corny came in with a new record that evening. The fact that Corny set a new record means that it's pretty likely that there's a shortcut on the track, especially since the track has reactor boosters. And sure enough, there was one. Around the middle of the track, there is a dirt downhill, followed by a reactor booster and an outward grass turn. Normally, the reactor booster keeps the car from flying off the map during this turn, but Corny saw an opportunity to skip it altogether. Instead of following the intended path, he slammed the car into the scenery. The active reactor booster pushed the nose of the car upwards, allowing Corny to accelerate mid-air and fly over the corner. He controlled the acceleration of the car to ensure he doesn't overshoot the checkpoint and land back on the track with just enough of an advantage to secure the new world record. This shortcut is much easier than the one on track 7, and he knew that if he didn't improve on the track, other players would quickly copy his shortcut strategy and beat his record. The same day he set a new record with a slightly different approach, but it wasn't much faster, as the difference in time came from driving a better ending. The next day, Arpa managed to recreate the shortcut and beat Corny's record with a slightly different approach. He took a lower line up the grass hill, then accelerated fully towards the next checkpoint, gaining more speed and a better landing. But Corny wasn't done trying new methods to the shortcut. He set 2 new records with 2 different approaches. He first set a new record by taking a high line over the grass hill, and despite falling behind Arpa, he catches up with a superior landing. The next record he sets, he mirrored Arpa's approach, but gets a better landing again and carries it through the rest of the track to save 1700s on his previous record. But then another top shortcut hunter joined to get the record on this track. Turtle TM took the same approach as Arpa but aimed further to the right, landing cleanly by the checkpoint. This allows him to accelerate on this part of the track and land with more speed. By now it was clear that the landing on the lower part of the track was key to a great landing. But Turtle TM also had a better approach at the ending. In this turn, players drive the car on the border to get a wheel lift. Because the car is driving on penalty grass, lifting the wheels reduces the amount of penalty. Turtles took a higher line on the border, lifted the wheels for longer than the previous records and saved extra time. His new record almost shaved 0.4 of a second of the previous record and stood for the next 20 days. But on July 25th, BloodTM entered the hunt. His first record was only 0.05 seconds faster than Turtle's, and his shortcut approach was actually slower. Turtle caught up to him after the shortcut, but Blood's superior racing lines gave him the edge to take the new record. 3 days later, Kneentje managed to beat that time, again thanks to better racing lines. At this point, Turtle still had the fastest shortcut approach, which meant that a quicker run was still possible. And BloodTM was determined to be the one to do it. 5 days after Kneentje's record, Blood took first place back, executing the shortcut as flawlessly as Turtle, but now armed with even better racing lines from his extensive practice on the record. He beat the record by 0.029 seconds. Over the next month, Blood relentlessly hunted the track, fine-tuning every detail and beating his own record multiple times. On September 9th, during his 4th record-breaking run, he made a small mistake after the shortcut, steering too much to the right and getting some airtime. When the car is airborne, it'll lose his acceleration, but in an attempt to catch up to his previous records, he discovered a new approach to the final turns. By going even higher on the border, he managed to get the whole car off the ground for about 0.6 seconds. Even though his shortcut wasn't optimal, he saved 200s on his previous record. With his new trick, Blood knew that if he could combine a perfect shortcut with a flawless ending, he could set a huge new record. And on September 16th, that's exactly what happened. He starts the run with precise racing lines. After the first checkpoint, he jumps off to get a clean landing with a wheel lift over the penalty sand. Then he goes high into the dirt halfpipe to jump over this patch of penalty sand, and into more tight turns with the reactor booster active. On the dirt drop down before the shortcut, he does a small release to land clean on the next section of the track. Then at the shortcut, he took a low line, lands the car perfectly flat, and does a grass wiggle to gain extra speed. At the last section of the track, he nailed a near-perfect wheel lift, and with incredible precision throughout the entire track, he finishes with an improvement of 0.164, saving more time than his previous 6 records combined. Every world record on the campaign track demands incredible precision like this, but track 20 from this summer campaign might be the most precise of them all. This track is a combination of grass and wood, and it's unique because of how drastically the car's grip changes between the two surfaces. On grass, the car has very low grip, making it hard to accelerate and turn, but on wood, the grip is extremely high. The car accelerates quickly on it, takes very sharp turns and never slides out. But if you turn too sharply at high speed, the car can tilt and even flip over. The property of the surface makes taking very tight turns optimal, but because of the high grip and turn radius of the car, it is very hard to do at high speeds without flipping the car over. 4 days into the campaign, Clumpy started focusing on the track. On the 5th of July, he set a new record with a 47.122. Jeff Up or Down, who held the previous record, matched his time to the 1,000th of a second. But Clumpy wasn't done with this track. He hunted the track over the next month, finding new ways to optimize each section. He took a tighter line at the start and perfected his exits of the wood parts, minimizing sliding on grass, since sliding on grass means losing speed. On July 29th, Clumpy broke his own record 8 times, pushing the time down to a 46.510. Then on August 8th, Mudda, who is known for his incredible precision, set a new record. His start was almost identical to Clumpy's, both driving nearly the same lines. But after the second wood section, Clumpy took the turn a little bit too tight, causing his car to tilt while going into the grass hill. Mudda, on the other hand, executed a precise wide turn, keeping his car flat on the grass and carrying more speed through the rest of the track. At these speeds, every detail matters, and towards the end of the track, Clumpy nearly caught up to him. Mudda took a smooth turn off the wood and into the grass, but Clumpy went high on the wood turn, then dove into the grass with a straighter line. This angle helped him preserve more speed, but that wasn't enough to catch up to him. Despite Mudda's slower ending, his record held for a long time, but his run showed that there was more potential on the track, and 1 month later, Nova TM managed to find it. He combined a run almost equal to Mudda's with a better ending. He took the record with a time save of 43 thousandths of a second. But he wasn't done hunting just yet. He set a new record on the 17th of September. This time he is ahead of Mudda almost the entire time. But on this turn he made a mistake, steering just a little too much to the right and hitting the penalty grass. This sets him behind Mudda through the next section of the track. But Nova goes very high on the wood turn, dives down and gets an almost straight line to the end of the track. Then he does the tightest turn possible before the end and improves his own record by 35 thousandths of a second. This was the last time the record was broken on this track, but on track 23, the record couldn't have been broken any later. It is a unique track filled with engine off blocks, preventing you from accelerating on your own. To keep you from losing all your speed, boosters are placed at every checkpoint. Tattoo27Z set a record on the first day of the campaign, and by the second day he improved his own record 8 times. Each new record shaved off just a few hundredths of a second. Most of the track is made out of standard road, where drifting causes the car to lose speed. But some turns are too sharp and drifting is necessary to stay on track. The key to preserving as much speed as possible is by doing the smallest drifts possible and not sliding out anywhere. 2 days after Tattoo27's streak, Andy Baguette took first place, saving 1/10 of a second. But 2 days later, Gritty came in with a massive improvement, beating the record by 1.1 seconds. With a time gap this big, there had to be a new strategy at play. And of course there was a shortcut discovered, right at the end of the track. From a top-down view, the shortcut to the finish was obvious, but executing it wasn't. The road after the final jump sits lower than the finish line, and there's no scenery to use to get up there. The only option is the road's border. In the original records, players aimed for straight jumps to land flat and maintain their speed. But Gritty did the opposite. Just before jumping off the platform, he steered slightly to the left, shifting the car's momentum forward and tilting it slightly to the right. Then, when the car hits the road, the front wheel gets knocked up. With the wheels lifted, he steers the car onto the road border and launches the car towards the finish. He sets a new record with this shortcut 12 days into the campaign. The shortcut has many obstacles, and you don't have any control over the car for this one. Once you have a good attempt, you just have to pray that it goes into the finish without slamming into all the scenery. Although Gritty's first record was strong, Corny broke it 5 days later. He had a faster time through the track, but the shortcut was slightly slower. Many other players managed to do the shortcut, and even though Corny's approach wasn't optimal, it was very hard to beat his time. But Gritty didn't want to let the record slip out of his hands. After hunting for several days, he set a new record on the 25th of July, shaving off a little more than 3/10 of a second. Not only was he faster throughout the entire run, but he also nailed a clean shortcut to the finish. Gritty's record held strong until the very last day of the campaign. But that morning, with just hours left before the summer campaign ended, Maniac broke the record by 59 thousandths of a second. Throughout most of the track, Maniac was nearly identical to Gritty's run. However, at the shortcut, Gritty was still slightly ahead. But Gritty clipped the car to the pole with its back wheel, while Maniac hits it with his front wheel. That tiny difference allowed Maniac to keep a little more speed and cross the finish line just ahead of Gritty. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't watched another video of mine, please consider these two on screen. And if you want to support my channel and therefore the creation of these videos, please consider subscribing and sharing this video with someone. Videos on different Trackmania topics will be coming soon. Thank you for watching.